I watched my father raise his champagne glass toward my sister across the crystal-laden table, his voice cracking with emotion as he called her the greatest gift of his 40-year marriage. My mother dabbed tears from her eyes. 80 guests applauded. My sister, draped in diamonds, held up her wrist to display the $16,000 Cartier watch they had just given her. Then my father called everyone outside for the family portrait. Everyone except me. I wasn't invited into the frame. The photographer was already setting up his equipment on the terrace of the country club when my father started directing people into position. I stood near the French doors, assuming someone would wave me over any second. My sister Amanda smoothed her emerald silk dress and positioned herself between our parents. Her husband Craig gathered their 2 children, adjusting their formal clothes. The photographer looked through his viewfinder and made small adjustments. He moved my mother slightly to the left. He asked Craig to shift so the sunset would hit his face better. He had Amanda tilt her wrist just so, making sure that Cartier watch caught the light. It was a beautiful piece, rose gold with a mother-of-pearl face, the kind of watch that costs more than most people make in 6 months. I waited. The photographer snapped a few test shots. My mother glanced in my direction. Our eyes met for half a second, and then she looked away. Not a nod, not a smile, not a gesture to come join them. Just a blank look, like I was part of the furniture. My father adjusted his tie and put his arm around Amanda. He said something that made everyone laugh. The photographer counted down from 3. Flashes went off. They took another pose, this one more casual. The kids sat on the ground in front. My mother and father stood tall in the back. Amanda and Craig filled the middle, glowing and perfect. I felt my chest tighten. This wasn't an oversight. This was intentional. I was 32 years old, and my parents were taking a family portrait that didn't include me. Other guests started to notice. I could see them exchanging glances, confused looks. A few people seemed uncomfortable. My Uncle Raymond frowned and looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. The photographer must have taken 40 or 50 shots. Different angles, different expressions, some formal, some laughing. At one point, my father actually repositioned everyone to make sure Amanda's watch was prominently displayed in every frame. That $16,000 piece of metal and jewels was more important than my presence. When the photo session finally ended, everyone clapped again. My father hugged Amanda. My mother kissed her cheek. Craig shook my father's hand like they had just closed a business deal. The kids ran off toward the lawn. And I stood there, invisible. Amanda broke away from the group and walked toward me. She had that look on her face, the one she always wore when she was about to say something cutting but wanted it to sound reasonable. She stopped a few feet away and sighed like I was exhausting her. "Don't look so sad, Johnny," she said. "You know Mom and Dad wanted just the immediate family for the photo." I stared at her. "I am immediate family." She waved her hand dismissively. "You know what I mean. The family that actually matters. The ones who didn't disappoint them." There it was. The truth she had been dancing around my entire life. I wasn't part of the family that mattered. I had made different choices. I dropped out of graduate school to start a tech company. I didn't become a doctor like they wanted. I didn't marry someone from the right family. I didn't give them grandchildren. I chose a path they didn't understand. And for that, I was erased. "You're playing with apps while I'm a real attorney," Amanda continued. She touched her watch, making sure I saw it. "I made partner track at one of the most prestigious firms in the state. Yale Law, remember? You went to state school." I could have responded. I could have defended myself. But what was the point? She believed what she wanted to believe. They all did. Amanda walked away, rejoining the celebration. I watched her go, watched her slip back into that perfect family portrait that didn't include me. Dinner was announced. Everyone moved back inside to the banquet hall. I found my seat at a table near the back. Not the family table. Not even close to it. I was seated with some distant cousins I barely knew and a few of my parents' neighbors. The meal was extravagant. Filet mignon, lobster tail, roasted vegetables that probably cost more per plate than most people's weekly grocery budget. Wine flowed freely. The room buzzed with conversation and laughter. Then my father stood up to give a speech. The room fell silent. He tapped his glass with a fork, that classic sound that demands attention. He cleared his throat and smiled at Amanda. For the next 40 minutes he talked about her. Every accomplishment, every milestone. Her perfect grade point average in high school. Her scholarship to Yale. Her law review position. Her first case win. Her beautiful home. Her wonderful husband. Her exceptional children, who attended the best private school in the county. He described how proud he was when she graduated law school. He talked about the day she told them she made partner track. He mentioned every award, every recognition, every success. His voice swelled with pride. My mother nodded along, crying happy tears. Then he said the words that cut deeper than anything else that night. Amanda, you are truly the greatest gift of our marriage. We thank God every day that we have you. My mother added, our one true blessing. One true blessing. Not one of our blessings. Not one of our gifts. One true blessing. Singular. As if I didn't exist. As if 32 years of my life, my struggles, my attempts to make them proud, meant absolutely nothing. There was no mention of me. Not even a passing reference. Not even a, we're also grateful for our son. Nothing. In a 40-minute speech about family and gratitude and 40 years of marriage, I was completely absent from the narrative. I smiled. I kept my face neutral. I nodded when appropriate. I clapped when everyone else clapped. But inside, something broke. Something that had been cracking for years finally shattered completely. I was done. Done trying to earn their love. Done trying to prove my worth. Done being invisible in my own family. I waited until dessert was served, until people were distracted by the elaborate anniversary cake. Then I quietly stood up, grabbed my coat from the back of my chair, and headed toward the exit. Johnny? A hand on my arm stopped me. It was Aunt Patricia, my father's sister. She looked at me with concern in her eyes. Are you leaving? Early morning meeting, I said, forcing a smile. Big day tomorrow. She didn't believe me. I could tell. She squeezed my arm gently. Are you okay? I'm fine, I lied. She held my gaze for a moment, and I saw something there. Sympathy. Understanding. She had seen what happened. She knew. Take care of yourself, she said softly. I walked through the lobby of the country club and out into the cool October night. The parking lot was full of expensive cars. I found mine, a Tesla Model S, and sat in the driver's seat for a moment. Through the windows of the country club, I could see the party continuing. Laughter. Dancing. Celebration. They wouldn't even notice I was gone. I pulled out my phone and made a call. It rang twice. Marcus? I said, when my CFO answered. Is everyone still at Bella Notte? Yes, boss, Marcus replied. I could hear background noise, voices, music. They're all here. The champagne is ready. Congratulations, by the way. This is huge. I started the car. I'm on my way. I drove away from my parents' anniversary party, away from the family that didn't want me in their photograph, away from the sister who thought I was playing with apps, and headed downtown. Bella Notte was an upscale Italian restaurant in the heart of the city. I had rented out the entire back room for the evening. When I walked in, 43 people erupted in applause. My entire company staff was there. The team that had worked alongside me for the past 6 years. The people who believed in my vision when nobody else did. Marcus raised a glass. To Johnny. To the deal of a lifetime. Everyone cheered. They all lifted their glasses. Someone popped a bottle of champagne, and the cork hit the ceiling. Laughter filled the room. Derek, my business partner, came over and hugged me. $77 million, man. We did it. Toast after toast was made in my honor. People shared stories about the early days, when we worked out of a cramped office space with second-hand furniture. They talked about the late nights, the impossible deadlines, the moments when we almost gave up but pushed through anyway. The deal had closed that morning. After 6 months of negotiations, after countless meetings and revisions and legal reviews, I had sold my tech company to a major corporation for $77 million. My share, after taxes and distribution to partners and early investors, would be around $30 million. While my family celebrated my sister's $16,000 watch, I had just become a multi-millionaire. I hadn't told them. They never asked about my business. They never showed interest in what I did. To them, I was still the disappointing son who dropped out of graduate school to pursue some frivolous technology venture. Standing in that restaurant, surrounded by people who valued me, who respected my work, who celebrated my success, I felt something I hadn't felt at my parents' party. I felt seen. I felt appreciated. I felt like I belonged. For the first time all day, I smiled, a genuine smile. 3 days later, on a Tuesday morning, my phone rang. The caller ID showed my mother's number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Johnny," my mother said, her voice cold and businesslike. "Your father and I need to talk to you. Come to the house this evening, 6 o'clock. No greeting. No small talk. No acknowledgement that I had left their party early. Just a command." "What's this about?" I asked. "We'll discuss it when you get here." She hung up before I could respond. I sat in my home office, staring at the phone. Something was off. My parents rarely called me, and when they did, it was usually my mother with some obligatory holiday invitation. A summons like this was unusual. I considered not going. I could make an excuse, say I was busy. But part of me needed to know what this was about. At 5:45 that evening, I drove to their house. It was a large colonial in an affluent suburb, the kind of house that screamed success and stability. I had grown up in this house. Every brick, every window, every corner held memories. Most of them weren't good. Amanda's car was already in the driveway. My stomach dropped. Whatever this was, it was planned. They hadn't told me she would be there. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. My father answered. He didn't smile or greet me. He just opened the door wider and gestured for me to come in. The living room was arranged like an intervention. My parents sat together on the sofa. Amanda sat in the armchair to their right. There was a single chair across from them, clearly meant for me. It felt like a trial. I sat down. Nobody offered me coffee or water. Nobody asked how I was doing. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. My father cleared his throat. "We need to discuss your responsibilities to this family." Responsibilities. Not how are you or thanks for coming. Responsibilities. "What responsibilities?" I asked. My mother folded her hands in her lap. "Amanda and Craig are buying a new house. It's a wonderful property in Greenwich. Perfect for the children. But they're a bit short on the down payment." I looked at Amanda. She wouldn't meet my eyes. She just sat there, examining her nails, that Cartier watch glinting on her wrist. "How short?" I asked. $200,000, my father said matter-of-factly, like it was pocket change. I almost laughed. $200,000. They wanted me to give my sister $200,000. "The banks won't extend them more credit," my mother added. There were some issues with Craig's previous business ventures. Previous business ventures. That was a nice way of putting it. I had heard rumors over the years. Craig had started a few companies that failed spectacularly, but I didn't know the details. So you want me to loan Amanda the money? I said slowly. We're family, my father said, his voice taking on an edge. Family helps family. I looked around the room. At my father, who hadn't mentioned me in his anniversary speech. At my mother, who called Amanda her one true blessing. At my sister, who told me I didn't matter. You just gave Amanda a $16,000 watch, I said. My mother waved her hand dismissively. That was different. That was a gift, a celebration. This is an investment in your sister's future. An investment. I repeated. You don't have children, my mother continued. You don't have a wife. You don't need as much money as Amanda does. She has a family to support. The implication was clear. My life was less important. My needs were less valid. I was supposed to sacrifice for Amanda because she had checked all the right boxes. Besides, Amanda finally spoke, her voice dripping with condescension. You've always been good with computers. You probably have some savings tucked away. Some savings. They had no idea. No idea that I had just sold my company for $77 million. No idea that I was sitting on a fortune that dwarfed anything they had ever seen. They still saw me as the broke dropout playing with technology. I should have told them right then. I should have enjoyed the shock on their faces. But something held me back. I wanted to see how far they would go. What if I say no? I asked quietly. The room went completely silent. My father's face darkened. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line. Amanda looked up sharply. Then you're not the son we raised, my father said, his voice hard as stone. My mother leaned forward. We gave you everything, Johnny. We raised you, fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. You owe us. There it was. The transaction. The debt. Love wasn't free in this family. It came with strings attached, with expectations, with bills due. Amanda added her own poison. Typical Johnny. Always selfish. Always thinking only of himself, never considering what the family needs. I sat there, absorbing it all. The manipulation. The guilt. The accusations. This was who they were. This was who they had always been. My father delivered the ultimatum. You have until Friday to wire the money to Amanda's account. If you refuse, don't bother coming to Thanksgiving, or Christmas, or any family event ever again. You'll be dead to us. My mother nodded in agreement. Amanda looked almost triumphant, like she had already won. I stood up slowly. I need time to think about this. Friday, my father repeated. That's your deadline. Wire the money, or lose your family. I walked to the door. Nobody got up to see me out. I drove home in a daze, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. They were extorting me, using family connection as a weapon, threatening to cut me off if I didn't pay up. But something didn't add up. $200,000 was a lot of money. Banks don't just refuse to lend to successful attorneys and business people without good reason. And my mother's comment about Craig's previous business ventures nagged at me. I needed to know what I was dealing with. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation in my parents' living room. The cold demands, the threats, the casual way. They dismissed my life as less important than Amanda's. But more than anger, I felt suspicion. Something wasn't right about this situation. Wednesday morning, I called my business attorney, Lauren. We had worked together on the acquisition deal, and I trusted her completely. Lauren, I need you to do something for me, I said. I need background checks, detailed ones. On who? She asked. Craig Patterson and Amanda Peterson, my brother-in-law and my sister. There was a pause. "Johnny, is everything okay? Just do it. Please. I need to know what I'm dealing with. Give me a few hours." 3 hours later, my phone rang. "Johnny." Lauren's voice was serious. "You need to sit down for this." I was already sitting at my desk, but I braced myself anyway. "Craig Patterson has filed bankruptcy twice in the last 5 years. Chapter 7 both times. He's currently being sued by 3 former business partners for fraud. The cases are still pending, but the allegations are serious. Misappropriation of funds, falsified financial records, breach of fiduciary duty." My chest tightened. What else? He has gambling debts. Significant ones. I found liens and judgments totaling approximately $250,000 from various casinos in Atlantic City and Las Vegas. Some of these are recent, within the last 6 months. $250,000 in gambling debts. More than they were asking me for. "And Amanda?" I asked, dreading the answer. Lauren sighed. "She's not on partnership track, Johnny. She was passed over 2 years ago. According to my sources at her firm, she's currently on probationary status for billing irregularities. There's also a potential ethics investigation pending. Nothing public yet, but it's serious." The perfect family was a lie. The successful attorney and businessmen were frauds. Everything they presented to the world, everything my parents bragged about, was a carefully constructed facade. "There's more," Lauren continued. "I did some digging on your parents, too. They remortgaged their house 3 years ago. Took out $300,000 in equity. That money went somewhere, Johnny. Given the timeline, I'm guessing it went to Amanda and Craig. 300,000. Gone. Probably lost in one of Craig's failed ventures, or his gambling habits." "Are my parents in financial trouble?" I asked. "Based on public records, yes. They're behind on the mortgage payments. Not in foreclosure yet, but close. Their retirement accounts show minimal balances. Credit card records, if we could access them, would probably tell an ugly story." I sat back in my chair, processing everything. The anniversary party, the expensive gifts, the fancy country club venue. All of it was bought on credit. All of it was an illusion. And now they wanted me to prop up that illusion with $200,000. "Lauren, one more thing. That $200,000 they're asking for, it's not really for a down payment on a house, is it? Probably not. If Craig has $250,000 in gambling debts and creditors are circling, plus Amanda's job is unstable, they need cash immediately. The house story is just what sounds legitimate to family." I thanked Lauren and ended the call. For the rest of Wednesday, I sat in my office thinking, they had lied to me. Or at least, they had hidden the truth. They presented this as a simple family favor, an investment in Amanda's future, when really, it was a desperate attempt to save themselves from financial ruin. And they had chosen to burden me with it. Not because they valued me, but because I was the one they thought they could manipulate. Thursday passed in a blur. I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept circling back to the situation. I thought about just giving them the money. $200,000 was nothing to me now. I could write the check and be done with it, but I knew it wouldn't end there. If I gave in now, they would come back for more, and more, and more. I would become the family ATM, valued only for my money, never for myself. Thursday evening, around 9 o'clock, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Johnny." The voice was slurred, angry. "Craig, what do you want?" I asked. "Listen to me very carefully," he said, his words running together. He was drunk. "If you don't give us that money, I'm going to make your life hell. You understand me?" My blood ran cold. "Are you threatening me?" "I have connections, Johnny. People who owe me favors. People at the State Business Licensing Board. People who can make problems for your little tech company. False complaints. Investigations. Regulatory nightmares. Your business won't survive what I can do to it. I fumbled for my phone's recording app, starting it quickly. I needed to capture this. You're going to destroy my business if I don't give you money? I said, making sure my words were clear for the recording. Exactly. And I'll file complaints with every agency I can think of. Environmental violations, tax irregularities, employment disputes. Doesn't matter if they're true. The investigations alone will kill you. Legal fees. Bad press. Loss of clients. You'll be ruined. Craig. You're drunk. You should hang up. I'm serious, he shouted. We need that money. You're going to give it to us, or I will destroy everything you've built. Every single thing. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of selfish person you are. I'll make sure no one ever wants to do business with you again. He continued ranting for another few minutes. Threats poured out of him. He would contact my clients. He would spread rumors. He would sabotage my reputation. He knew people. He had ways. I let him talk. I let him incriminate himself thoroughly. When he finally ran out of steam and hung up, I saved the recording. Backed it up to 3 different places. This wasn't just family pressure anymore. This was extortion. This was criminal. Friday was my deadline. The day I was supposed to wire $200,000 to Amanda's account. Instead, I sat in my home office, the recording of Craig's threats on my laptop, and made a different kind of call. Tomorrow, everything would change. Friday morning arrived cold and gray. I woke at 5 and couldn't fall back asleep. By 7, I was already dressed and heading downtown to meet Lauren at a coffee shop near her office. She arrived carrying a briefcase and wearing a concerned expression. We found a quiet corner booth, and I played the recording of Craig's phone call for her. She listened intently, her face growing more serious with each passing second. When it ended, she sat back and let out a low whistle. Johnny, this is extortion. And his threats about filing false complaints, about sabotaging your business. That's multiple felonies. You need to go to the police. Right now. They're still my family, I said, hating how weak that sounded. Lauren leaned forward. They stopped treating you like family a long time ago. They excluded you from a family photo. They called your sister their one true blessing. They demanded money with threats attached. And now Craig is threatening to destroy your livelihood. This isn't family. This is abuse. I knew she was right. I had known it deep down since the anniversary party. Maybe I had known it my whole life. Okay, I said. Let's go. We drove to the police station. The building was busy with Friday morning activity. We asked for someone who handled financial crimes and were directed to Detective Sarah Morris. She was in her late 40s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. I explained the situation from the beginning. The anniversary party, the exclusion from the photo, the demand for money, the threats. Then I played Craig's recording. Detective Morris listened without interrupting. When the recording ended, she made some notes. Mr. Peterson, this is serious. What you've described constitutes extortion under state law. The threats to your business are particularly concerning. Have you given them any money yet? No. Today is their deadline. Good. Don't. We'll document this officially. I can't promise immediate action, but you'll have a police report on record. That provides you with protection. If they escalate, we can move quickly. She took my statement, had me sign some forms, and provided me with a case number. The whole process took about 90 minutes. As we left the station, I felt strange. I had just reported my family to the police, but I also felt safer, more protected than I had in days. My phone started buzzing around noon. Messages from my father, from my mother, from Amanda. Father, where's the money? Bank closes at 5. Mother, your father is very disappointed in you. Amanda, don't you dare let us down. Then, surprisingly, a text from Craig. His tone was completely different from the drunken call. Formal, almost polite. "Craig, we expect the wire transfer by 3 p.m. today. Please confirm when complete." He was trying to pretend the threatening phone call never happened. Or maybe he didn't remember it. Either way, I didn't respond. Instead, I sent a group text to all 4 of them. "Me. Family meeting at my office. 4 p.m. today. All of you must attend. Non-negotiable." My father's response came fast. "Father, we're not coming to your little office. Wire the money." "Me. Then you get nothing. 4 p.m. My office address attached. Come or don't. Your choice." Silence for over an hour. Then Amanda replied, "Amanda. Fine. We'll be there." I spent the rest of the day preparing. I called Marcus and Derek, explained what was happening, and asked them to be present at the meeting. I wanted witnesses. People on my side. Lauren would attend as my attorney. I set up the conference room, made sure the recording system was active. Everything needed to be documented. At 3:45, my receptionist Jenny called. "Johnny, there are 4 people here to see you. They say they're family. Send them up." The elevator doors opened, and my family stepped onto the 10th floor of my office building. Their faces were priceless. Shock, confusion. They were looking around at the modern, professional space like they couldn't quite believe it. My company occupied 2,500 square feet of prime downtown real estate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Sleek furniture, high-end computers. A staff of 40 people working at their desks. This wasn't someone playing with apps. This was a real, established, successful technology company. Jenny, professional as always, escorted them to the conference room. I watched on the security monitor as they entered. My mother looked around nervously. My father seemed suspicious. Amanda's confident demeanor had cracked slightly. Craig looked angry. I waited 5 minutes. Let them sit there. Let them wonder. Then I walked in with Lauren, Marcus, and Derek. We sat across from them. Derek, my business partner, was 6'4" and built like he still played college football, which he had. His presence alone changed the atmosphere. This wasn't a family chat. This was a business meeting. My father started to speak. "Now look, we came here but we expect." I cut him off. "I know about Craig's bankruptcies." Craig's face went pale. "I know about his gambling debts, $250,000 to various casinos. I know about the fraud lawsuits. 3 former business partners suing him for financial crimes." Amanda's head snapped toward Craig. "What?" "I know about your probationary status at your firm, Amanda. I know about the ethics investigation pending against you." She gasped. "How did you?" "I know you gave them $300,000 3 years ago, Mom and Dad. Money you took out in a second mortgage. Money that's gone now. I know you're behind on payments. I know your retirement accounts are nearly empty. I know you're drowning." My parents sat frozen, unable to respond. "And I have this." I nodded to Lauren. She pulled out her laptop and played 30 seconds of Craig's recording. His drunken voice filled the room, threatening to destroy my business, promising to file false complaints, vowing to ruin me. Craig tried to stand. "I can explain. Sit down," Derek said quietly. Not threateningly, just firmly. "Craig Saturday," Lauren spoke, her attorney voice crisp and professional. "Mr. Craig Patterson, you have committed extortion under State Penal Code Section 443. You have also threatened to file false official complaints, which is a separate crime. We filed a police report this morning. Case number 8, 74239. Detective Sarah Morris is handling the investigation." The room erupted. Amanda started screaming at Craig. "What did you do? What did you do?" My mother started crying. My father was yelling. "This is family business." "You went to the police against your own family?" I sat calmly, waiting for the chaos to subside. It took a few minutes. Finally, everyone quieted down. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're going to leave this office. You're never going to contact me again asking for money. You're never going to threaten me or my business. In exchange, I won't pursue criminal charges against Craig." My father's face turned red. "You ungrateful, we raised you. We gave you everything. You excluded me from a family photo," I said quietly. "Dad, you called Amanda your one true blessing. You erased me from your family narrative. You only remembered I existed when you needed money." My mother tried a different approach. "Johnny, please. We're your parents. We gave you life. We sacrificed for you. And I've spent 32 years trying to earn your love. Trying to be good enough. Trying to matter to you. I'm done." I stood up. The meeting was over. But Amanda, desperate now, changed tactics. "Wait," she said, her voice suddenly softer. "Johnny, please. We're family. We can work this out. Maybe we said things we didn't mean. Maybe we can start over." I saw right through it. The manipulation continuing, just with a different approach. "The meeting is over. Jenny will see you out." But as they stood to leave, Amanda noticed something on the credenza behind me. A framed magazine cover. Forbes. She walked over and picked it up. The cover showed my face alongside 9 other entrepreneurs. The headline read, "Tech's Rising Stars. 10 acquisitions that changed the game." Below my photo, a caption. "Johnny Peterson, 32, sells tech startup for $77 million. Amanda's eyes widened. Her hands started shaking. $77 million? You sold your company for $77 million? The room froze. Everyone turned to look at the magazine, then at me. My father stood. "What?" Craig, ever the calculator, started doing math out loud. "If you sold for $77 million, after taxes and distribution, your personal share would be, you're worth at least $30 million. Silence fell like a hammer. They had been treating a multimillionaire like a failure. While they were drowning in debt, begging and threatening for $200,000, I had been sitting on a fortune that exceeded their wildest dreams. The son they excluded from photos was wealthier than they had ever imagined. My mother's voice came out as a whisper. $30 million? And you were going to let us lose our house? That was her response. Not apology. Not acknowledgement of how they had treated me. Just accusation. You told me I wasn't the son you raised, I said, my voice cold. You uninvited me from family events. You treated me like an ATM, not a person. Did you ever once ask about my life? About my business? About what I do? Silence. The answer is no. You never asked because you didn't care. You only cared when you needed something. I walked to the conference room door and opened it. Goodbye. They filed out, shell-shocked. Amanda kept looking back at the Forbes magazine. Craig's face was twisted with rage and regret. My parents seemed to age 10 years in 10 minutes. Jenny escorted them to the elevators. I watched on the security monitor as they descended. Leaving my building. Leaving my life. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder. You okay, boss? I will be, I said. But I was wrong. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Saturday morning. I woke to my phone exploding with notifications. Dozens. Then hundreds. I picked it up, confused, and opened social media. Amanda had posted on Facebook at 6 in the morning. A long, emotional post with a photo of her and our parents. The post talked about family betrayal. About a successful brother who refused to help his struggling parents. About greed and heartlessness. She painted a picture of our parents as victims who had sacrificed everything for their children, only to be abandoned in their time of need. She mentioned that I had $30 million and wouldn't spare $200,000 to save their home. She called me cruel, selfish, heartless. The post was going viral. Hundreds of shares, thousands of comments. Family friends, distant relatives, people I barely knew were all weighing in. How could he do this to his own parents? Money changes people. He forgot where he came from. What an ungrateful son. She had included the name of my company in the post. People were finding our website, leaving negative reviews, sending angry messages. My phone started ringing. Calls from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, all of them attacking me, defending Amanda and my parents. None of them knew the truth. None of them knew about the extortion, the threats, the years of favoritism and exclusion. They only knew Amanda's carefully crafted narrative. I called Aunt Patricia, one of the few relatives who had shown me any kindness. "Johnny," she answered, her voice worried. "I just saw Amanda's post." "What's going on?" I explained everything. The demand for money. Craig's threats. The police report. The real financial situation. She listened quietly. "I believe you," she said when I finished. "But Johnny, most people don't know your side. They're only seeing what Amanda posted. You need to respond somehow." But how? Posting my own version on social media felt petty. Getting into a public fight with my family seemed beneath me. Yet staying silent meant accepting their narrative. I decided to focus on work, to ignore the social media storm, and hope it would blow over. That hope died Monday morning. I arrived at the office to find Jenny looking worried. "Johnny, we've been getting strange phone calls since we opened at 8. People asking about complaints against the company, about investigations." Marcus pulled me aside before I reached my office. "We have a problem. Someone contacted 2 of our major clients over the weekend. Anonymous tips about supposed ethical concerns with our company. Both clients are asking questions. They want meetings to discuss it." Derek appeared in my doorway minutes later. "Boss, check this out." He pulled up his laptop and showed me online review sites. Our company had been hit with dozens of 1-star reviews over the weekend, all posted between Saturday night and Sunday morning. All claiming we defrauded clients, engaged in poor business practices, were unreliable, and unethical. All fake, all malicious, all coordinated. Craig was following through on his threats. Even after the police report, even after being recorded, he was attacking my business using anonymous accounts and phone calls. "I'm reporting these," Derek said. "But the damage is done. People see these reviews." Lauren called me before lunch. "Johnny, I'm hearing rumors. Someone has been calling local business reporters, trying to pitch a story about a tech millionaire who abandoned his family. 2 reporters have reached out to me asking for comment. This was a coordinated attack. My family was using every weapon they had. Social media, fake reviews, media contacts, client relationships. They were trying to destroy my reputation and my business. I called Detective Morris and reported the new developments. She took notes, but warned me that proving Craig was behind the anonymous reviews would be difficult. She could investigate, but it would take time. Time I didn't have. My clients were getting nervous. My staff was worried. The media was circling. Wednesday, a local business blog published an article. The headline made my stomach drop. "Local tech entrepreneur under fire for family feud." The article was biased, clearly based on information from anonymous sources who were obviously my family. It painted me as a greedy millionaire who had turned his back on his aging parents in their time of need. It mentioned my company name, the $77 million acquisition, and included quotes from family sources calling me changed, greedy, someone who had forgotten where he came from. The article went semi-viral locally. By Thursday afternoon, a local news station picked it up. The evening news ran a segment, When success tears families apart. They interviewed my mother. The camera showed her looking frail and sad, sitting in her living room. She talked about how they had given me everything, supported my dreams even when they didn't understand them. And now, they were facing foreclosure, and I wouldn't help. "I don't recognize the son he's become," she said, her voice breaking. Money changed him. My father appeared briefly, looking disappointed and hurt. "We just wanted our family to stay together. But wealth can corrupt even the best people." No attempt to contact me, no effort to get my side of the story. Just a one-sided hit piece designed to generate views and outrage. I sat in my condo that evening, watching my reputation burn on social media and local news. My private family drama had become a public spectacle. Marcus called. "2 more clients are suspending their contracts. They don't want the controversy. They're worried about association with negative press," Derek texted. "Media requests are overwhelming, Jenny." "What should we tell them?" Lauren emailed. "The board members from the acquiring company are asking questions. The deal is still closing, but they're concerned about the publicity. The $77 million acquisition, the culmination of 6 years of work, was at risk because my family was waging a media war against me. Everything I had built was under attack. My company's reputation, my client relationships, my personal character, all of it being systematically destroyed by people who were supposed to love me." Friday afternoon, everything got worse. Derek walked into my office carrying 2 letters. Official legal documents. His face was grim. "Boss, these just came by courier. You need to see them now." The first was from Amanda's law firm. A cease and desist letter on behalf of my parents. It claimed I had made verbal promises to support them financially. It claimed I had a legal obligation to help them. It demanded immediate payment of $500,000. Not $200,000 anymore. $500,000. The letter threatened a lawsuit if I didn't pay within 10 days. It cited elder financial abuse statutes, claiming I was exploiting my parents' vulnerability and emotional distress. The second letter was from Craig's attorney. A defamation claim. Craig was alleging that I had made false accusations about his threats, that the recording was taken without his consent and violated his privacy, that I had damaged his reputation. He was demanding I retract my statements publicly and pay $100,000 in damages. 2 lawsuits. 2 simultaneous legal threats. Both expensive to fight. Both designed to drain my resources and force me into submission. If I fought them, the legal fees would be enormous. The process would be long, public, and damaging. If I ignored them, they would file suit, and the publicity would be even worse. And Amanda was using her law firm's resources, exploiting her position to attack her own brother. That had to violate some ethical rule, but proving it would take time I didn't have. I sat at my desk, head in my hands. Everything was falling apart. The company I had built from nothing was losing clients. My staff was worried about their jobs. The acquisition deal was being questioned. My reputation was destroyed. And now I faced potential lawsuits that could drag on for years. All because I wouldn't give them money. All because I dared to be successful while they were struggling. All because I had finally stood up for myself. Marcus came in with even worse news. "Johnny, I just got off the phone with 2 more clients. They're not just suspending contracts. They're canceling them outright. They're citing the morality clauses in our agreements. The negative publicity is giving them an out. Losing clients meant losing revenue. Revenue loss meant potential layoffs. Jobs were at risk. People who had believed in me, who had worked alongside me for years, might lose their employment because of my family's vendetta. I had never felt so trapped, so helpless. Every move I made, they countered. Every defense I put up, they found a way around. They were relentless, coordinated, and they had nothing left to lose. I was fighting people who had already destroyed themselves financially and were determined to take me down with them. That night, I barely slept. I kept running through scenarios in my head. None of them ended well. I could fight and lose everything. I could pay and encourage more extortion. I could do nothing and watch my company crumble. There had to be another way. There had to be something I was missing. But what? The weekend was a blur of strategy meetings. Lauren brought in Harold Chen, a litigation specialist who handled family law and defamation cases. We met Saturday morning in Lauren's office, spreading documents across the conference table. Harold was in his 50s, with silver hair and a reputation for being ruthless in court. He reviewed everything methodically. The police report, the recording of Craig's threats, the cease and desist letters, the social media posts, the fake reviews, the news articles. When he finished, he looked up at me with sharp eyes. "They've made mistakes, big ones." Hope flickered in my chest. "What kind of mistakes?" "Their public statements could constitute defamation against you. Your mother's television interview made specific claims that are provably false. The fake reviews are fraud. Craig's threats are on record. Amanda using her law firm to threaten her own brother, while her firm previously represented someone suing Craig, creates a conflict of interest. There are ethics violations all over this. Can we use that?" I asked. "Absolutely. But Johnny, fighting this will be ugly. It will be public. It will be expensive. Court battles with family make national news. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about the past 2 weeks. The exclusion from the family photo. The demand for money. The threats. The public attacks. The damage to my business. The stress on my staff. "They took everything from me," I said quietly. "My place in the family, my dignity, my reputation. I'm done running. I'm done being the family punching bag." Harold nodded. "Then we fight. And we fight hard." Over the next few days, we built our counteroffensive. Harold drafted a comprehensive lawsuit against all of them. Against my parents for fraud, defamation, and emotional distress. Against Amanda for legal malpractice, ethics violations, defamation, and abuse of process. Against Craig for extortion, criminal threats, fraud, and defamation. We asked for $2 million in damages. More importantly, we compiled evidence for ethics complaints. Harold filed a formal complaint with the state bar against Amanda, documenting her use of firm resources for personal matters and the conflict of interest with Craig. He also filed complaints with Amanda's law firm, detailing the ethical problems. The firm would have to investigate or risk their own reputation. Derek used his tech skills to trace the fake reviews back to IP addresses. We documented that they originated from Craig's home, Amanda's office, and a VPN that Craig likely used. We reported these to the platforms with evidence of fraud and to law enforcement as additional criminal activity. Harold sent demand letters to the blog that published the hit piece, demanding a retraction and correction. He pointed out that the author was Craig's college roommate, a relationship never disclosed in the article, which violated journalistic ethics. We prepared everything for filing. Harold scheduled it for Wednesday morning. "When we file this, it will make news," Harold warned. "But this time, your side of the story will be public. Everything will come out. The recording, the fake reviews, the ethics violations, all of it." "Good," I said. "I'm tired of their lies." Tuesday afternoon, I got an unexpected visitor. Jenny called me. "Johnny, your father is here. He doesn't have an appointment." Should I send him away? My father, alone. No Amanda, no my mother, no Craig. "Send him in," I said. My father walked into my office looking older than I had ever seen him. His shoulders sagged. His face had new lines. He moved slowly, heavily, like he was carrying an enormous weight. He sat down across from my desk without being invited. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, he said, "I didn't know it would go this far." I said nothing. Just waited. Craig is out of control. Amanda is scared. The law firm suspended her pending an ethics investigation. She might be disbarred. Your mother is on anxiety medication now. She can't sleep. The media won't stop calling. Still no apology. Still no acknowledgement of how they had treated me. "Can't we just make this go away?" he asked. "What if we drop everything? All the demands, the letters, everything. We just all move on." "In exchange for what?" I asked. "You don't file your lawsuit. We all just move on. Put this behind us." I almost laughed. Move on. Like 32 years of being second best never happened. Like being excluded from a family photo didn't matter. Like being called not the son they raised was something to forget. "You excluded me from a family photo," I said. "You called Amanda your one true blessing. You treated me like I didn't exist until you needed money. Then when I wouldn't give it to you, you tried to destroy my business, my reputation, everything I built. We didn't mean." "Yes, you did. You meant every bit of it. And now, you're here because you're losing. Amanda might lose her law license. Craig might face criminal charges. Your house is still at risk, and I'm about to sue you for $2 million. That's why you're here. Not because you're sorry. Because you're desperate." His face hardened. The mask slipped. "You would sue your own parents? Your own flesh and blood? You tried to extort your own son." We stared at each other across my desk. Two people who shared DNA but nothing else. No love, no respect, no connection. He stood up. "I came here to offer peace. You're refusing. Then this is on you. Whatever happens next is your fault. You're tearing this family apart." The guilt trip. One last manipulation. "I've spent my whole life taking responsibility for your disappointment in me," I said. "Believing I wasn't good enough. Trying to earn your love. I'm done. Get out." He walked to the door, but just before leaving, he turned back. His face twisted with something ugly. Anger, bitterness, maybe truth. "You were an accident, Johnny. Did you know that? We weren't planning another child. Amanda was our planned baby. Our wanted baby. Maybe that's why things have always been different with you." He walked out, leaving those words hanging in the air like poison. I sat frozen at my desk. The final wound. The deepest cut. I wasn't just the unfavored child. I was the unwanted child. The mistake. The accident they had spent 32 years resenting. Everything suddenly made sense. The favoritism. The exclusion. The casual cruelty. I was never supposed to be part of the story. They had their perfect family. Their planned child. Their chosen narrative. And then I came along and ruined it. My phone rang. "Harold, Johnny, something just happened." They didn't wait. They filed their lawsuit first. About an hour ago. My mind struggled to focus. "What?" "Your parents, Amanda and Craig, filed a joint lawsuit against you. Claims of elder financial abuse, intentional infliction of emotional distress, breach of oral contract, defamation. They're seeking $3 million in damages. It was filed in civil court this afternoon. They've already sent a press release to media outlets. While my father was in my office pretending to seek peace, their attorneys were filing suit. One more coordinated manipulation. One more betrayal. But Harold's voice held something unexpected. Satisfaction. "Johnny, they just made the biggest mistake of their lives. By filing first, they opened everything to discovery. Everything becomes public record now. The recording, the fake reviews, the ethics violations, all of it. They gave us the platform. They handed us the weapon we needed. He was right. In their desperation to strike first, to control the narrative, they had opened the door to full disclosure. Everything I had been holding back, all the evidence of their threats and manipulation, would now be aired in court. They thought they were delivering a knockout blow. Instead, they had given me exactly what I needed to destroy their case and expose the truth. File our countersuit, I told Harold, tomorrow morning, and hold nothing back. Already prepared, he said. This is going to get very public, very fast. Are you ready? More than ready, I said. Let's end this. Wednesday morning, Harold filed our countersuit. By noon, the local legal community was buzzing. 2 major lawsuits, family against family, millions of dollars at stake. The media descended like wolves. But this time, the story was different. Court documents are public record. Reporters got copies of both filings. Suddenly, Craig's recorded threats were transcribed in legal documents for everyone to read. The fake reviews were documented with IP address evidence. Amanda's ethics violations were detailed. The pattern of extortion was laid out in precise legal language. News outlets that had run sympathetic stories about my poor, abandoned parents now had to issue corrections. The blog that published the hit piece was forced to retract and apologize, adding a disclaimer about the author's relationship with Craig. Social media reversed course overnight. Comments that had attacked me now attacked my family. People who had called me heartless now called them frauds. The tide turned completely. Supportive messages flooded my company's email. Clients who had suspended contracts called to apologize and reinstate them. The board of the acquiring company released a statement expressing confidence in me and condemning attempts at extortion. Within 72 hours of filing, the truth was out. Not my version or their version, but the documented, verified, legally filed truth. The dominoes fell fast. Amanda's law firm terminated her employment on Friday. The ethics investigation accelerated. She faced probable suspension or disbarment. Without her law license, without her prestigious job, her entire identity crumbled. Craig's recorded threats gave the district attorney everything they needed. He was charged with extortion and criminal intimidation. He faced potential prison time. His previous fraud lawsuit suddenly moved forward as creditors smelled weakness. He filed for bankruptcy. His third, the strain destroyed Amanda and Craig's marriage. She filed for divorce within 2 weeks, desperate to distance herself from his criminal liability. My parents' financial situation became public through lawsuit discovery. They owed more on their house than it was worth. Retirement accounts were empty. Credit cards were maxed. The fancy anniversary party had been financed on credit. The Cartier watch was purchased on a payment plan. Everything had been illusion. Extended family learned the full truth. Uncle Raymond cut off contact with my parents. Aunt Patricia called me to apologize for not speaking up sooner. Other relatives quietly reached out, expressing support. My parents became isolated. The perfect family they had worked so hard to project had been exposed as a fraud. 6 weeks after the lawsuits were filed, Harold got a call from their attorney. They wanted to settle. The terms were complete surrender. They dropped their $3 million suit entirely. They withdrew all claims. They agreed to issue a public apology. They agreed to a permanent non-contact agreement. In exchange, I wouldn't pursue my $2 million countersuit. Harold brought the offer to me in his office. We sat in leather chairs overlooking the city. It's not full victory in terms of money, he said. But it's complete vindication. They're surrendering, admitting defeat. You win. I looked out at the skyline. I could push forward. I could bankrupt them. I could destroy them the way they tried to destroy me. The law was on my side. I would probably win. But did I want that? Did I want more months of legal battles, more media coverage, more energy spent on people who had never valued me? I'll settle, I said. But I want one final meeting. Face to face. All of them. Before we sign. Harold arranged it. The following Tuesday. Neutral location. His office conference room. All parties present. With their attorneys. I arrived last. The conference room was tense and silent. My parents sat together, looking diminished. Amanda was pale, dark circles under her eyes. Craig wore the clothes of someone whose life had collapsed. His swagger was gone. The settlement papers were on the table, ready for signatures. I sat down across from them. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then I said what I had come to say. I didn't want it to end this way. I wanted a family. I wanted parents who were proud of me. I wanted a sister who supported me. That's all I ever wanted. My mother's eyes filled with tears. The money never mattered. The success never mattered. I would have given it all up for a family that loved me. I looked at each of them in turn, but you couldn't see me. You couldn't value me. Until you wanted something from me. Then suddenly I mattered. But only as a source of money. Not as a person. Not as your son. Not as family. Amanda looked down at her hands. Craig stared at the wall. My father's jaw was clenched. I'm signing this because I'm done. Not because I forgive you. I'm done carrying your disappointment. I'm done trying to earn something you were never going to give. I'm done letting you define my worth. I pulled the papers toward me, pen ready. I was never the son you wanted, and you were never the family I deserved. I signed. Pushed the papers across the table. My mother suddenly spoke. Johnny, wait. I paused. I'm sorry. Her voice broke. I'm so sorry. We were wrong. I was wrong. About everything. It was the first real apology. The first genuine acknowledgement. But it came too late. Thank you for saying that, I said. I needed to hear it. But it doesn't change anything. I stood to leave. Johnny, please. My mother reached toward me. Can't we start over? Can't we try to fix this? I looked at her. Really looked at her. I saw regret there. Maybe even love. But I also saw 32 years of damage that couldn't be undone with an apology. No, I said gently. We can't. This is goodbye. I walked out of the conference room, out of Harold's office, out of their lives. 3 months passed. The settlement became final. The lawsuits were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they could never refile. The media moved on to other stories. My company thrived. The acquisition closed successfully. My staff was secure. My reputation was restored. I moved forward with new projects. Life became calm, peaceful, free. One Saturday afternoon in late January, I was working at a coffee shop downtown. Just me, my laptop, and a good cup of coffee. Enjoying the rare quiet. Johnny? I looked up. Aunt Patricia stood next to my table. Mind if I sit? She asked. Please. I gestured to the chair across from me. She settled in, wrapping her hands around her own coffee cup. We made small talk for a few minutes. Then she got to the real reason she had approached me. I wanted you to know, she said carefully. Your parents sold the house. They moved into a small condo across town. They're living on Social Security and your father's pension. It's not much, but they're managing. I nodded. Felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt. Just neutrality. Amanda is working at a small personal injury firm, making a fraction of what she made before. The bar suspended her license for 2 years. Craig took a plea deal. He's serving 24 months for the extortion charges. The divorce finalized last month. How are they doing? I asked. Not sure why I cared. They're surviving. Barely. The family is fractured. Everyone barely speaks to each other. She paused. They destroyed themselves, Johnny. You didn't do it. They did. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. Slid it across the table. This is from your mother. She asked me to give it to you. She knows you won't take her calls. You don't have to read it. You don't have to respond. But I promised her I would try. I looked at the envelope. My name written in my mother's handwriting. Patricia stood to leave. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. You built something beautiful. You stood up for yourself. You didn't let them break you. That takes real strength. She touched my shoulder gently and left. I sat with the envelope for several minutes. Finally opened it. Inside was a single handwritten page. The letter was short. My mother apologized. Said she understood everything now. Acknowledged the pain they had caused. Admitted the favoritism, the manipulation, the cruelty. She said she understood if I never spoke to her again. The letter ended with one line. You were never an accident to me. No matter what your father said, you were my son. And I failed you. I'm sorry. I read it twice. Folded it carefully. Put it in my pocket. I felt nothing dramatic. No rush of forgiveness. No burst of anger. Just a quiet sense of closure. She saw me now. Too late. But she saw me. She understood what she had lost. And I understood something too. I had spent my entire life seeking approval from people who were never going to give it. I had measured my worth by their standards, by their love, by their acceptance. But my worth was never theirs to determine. I built a successful company. I created jobs. I treated people with respect. I surrounded myself with individuals who valued me for who I was, not what I could give them. I stood up for myself when it mattered most. That was success. Real success. Not wealth, though I had that now. Not fame, though I had achieved recognition. But the knowledge that I was enough, exactly as I was. I returned to my laptop, to my work, to my life. The life I had built for myself, on my own terms. A few days later, I was back at my office. The team was laughing about a new project we were launching. Marcus made a joke about the early days when we could barely afford pizza. Derek reminded everyone about the night we thought we were going to lose everything but pulled through at the last second. This was my family now. Not by blood, but by choice. People who chose to be in my life, who valued me, who respected me, who saw me. I looked around the office at the faces of people who believed in me, and I felt something I had never felt at any family gathering. I felt like I belonged. I won. Not because I destroyed my parents, or Amanda, or Craig. Not because I extracted revenge or punishment. I won because I refused to let them destroy me. I won because I chose myself. I chose my peace. I chose my worth. The family that excluded me from their photo lost the right to be in my life. And I gained the freedom to build my own family, my own story, my own legacy. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemies. It's freeing yourself from people who never deserved access to your life in the first place. I was free. And that was worth more than any amount of money, any family approval, any photograph I was excluded from. I built my empire. I protected my peace. I freed myself from people who never saw me. And that made me richer than they could ever understand. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Have you ever tried to earn love from people who withheld it? Have you ever had to choose between family and your own peace? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Your experience matters. Your voice matters. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about overcoming adversity and finding your own strength. And share this with someone who needs to hear that they're worth more than how others treat them. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that your worth is not determined by people who cannot see your value. You deserve better. You deserve people who choose you. You deserve peace. Take care of yourself. Protect your peace. And remember, sometimes walking away is the greatest victory of all.